This episode of the Love Looks Like This project touches on the experience of transitioning to life as a woman and transphobia.
Hi, my name is Sarah Henry. My pronouns are she, her. I am 27-year-old and I am a Delaware empowerment artist. And my favorite animated show is obviously Bob's Burgers, because pretty much any conversation I can say, I can relate it to a Bob's Burgers episode. And it's incredibly annoying to everyone except for me.
My name is Erin. My pronouns are she, her. I am now 44 years old. Just because I haven't said it, my birthday was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday! I didn't know that.
Nobody does. I don't keep it on Facebook.
I turned mine off too. I hate when people say I hate it.
But just so you know.
Happy birthday. This is a great birthday gift.
And my favorite anime overall, I would have to say, I love all the various Gundam series, but probably, and a lot of people are very against it, but Mobile Suit Gundam Seed is probably my favorite anime that I've had.
Okay. Why are most people against it?
They just think it's dumb.
Okay.
Compared to a lot of the other ones.
We can enjoy dumb stuff.
Compared to a lot of the other ones, it's just not the same. It's not what everyone's used to in the Gundam series, so.
Gotcha. Well, you can like dumb things. Like, people watch reality TV, so you can watch a bad anime if you want, or a dumb anime.
All the terrible DVDs I have from like the 90s and 2000s. Come on.
And what is your job?
I am a electrical design engineer.
So that is your job, but if you could describe yourself in a way that is not tied to a profession, what would you say?
Eccentric.
Eccentric. All right, I like it. I know you're very into cosplay and all that kind of stuff too.
Yep.
So definitely cosplayer.
Cosplayer, photography, builder, whatever you'd like to call all that. Tinkerer.
Creative tinkerer, yes.
Computer stuff all over. Last night I was working on setting up a online cloud storage on my own personal server, so a friend of mine could transfer actually all those photos I showed you.
Oh, yeah.
So she could transfer the raw files, because she was going to just let me edit them myself.
Oh, nice.
So, that's one of those things.
Raw files are huge.
Yep.
Very large.
So, again, this is why I am the way I am, because there's no focus.
Yeah, just, I have the same problem too. Like, so many business people in photography, like, you have to have a genre, you have to, like, niche down. And I was like, but I want to do everything. Like, how am I supposed to do that?
I want to do what's fun.
Yeah.
And what's fun today is not what's going to be fun tomorrow.
And that's why people like me, when I finally had a professional declutterer last year, we had to go through a lot of craft supplies. Because I really enjoyed How many craft supplies do you have, Erin?
We're not going to talk about... Look,
that's not what we're talking about today.
We're not going to talk about my basement, which is all mine. Yes, there is nothing for anyone else downstairs except my stuff.
Fair enough. We don't have a basement. We have a crawl space because it's Delaware. I had no idea what a crawl space was until I moved to Delaware. I was like, what do you mean? Because like in New York, my parents have a basement that's large enough to not only house all their stuff, have Mantown, which is where my dad has all his stuff. My also grandma lives down there. I could not put my grandma in the crawl space. She would not do well in the crawl space. When I ask you about your body, what are the first 3 words that pop into your head without like thinking about it too much?
Changing, adapting, and discovering.
Nice. All right. Awesome. I love that. Try to explain those a little bit more for me. Like, go into them a little bit more.
I mean, as you know, I'm transgender, so I've been on...
What?
Yeah,
I did not know from the hair tie. And I know.
There's no signs
it was very,
whatsoever.
Very subtle.
Right? So, having been on HRT now for almost 2 years, and going through just... There's so many various changes, and I mean, anytime there's any adjustment to medication in any way, really, it's very disconcerting at times, because anytime you're adjusting, it changes anything. So I had started injections for my estrogen about maybe 6 months ago, give or take. Okay. That was really odd because, when you go, I was basically taking the maximum dosage orally, which is 4 2-milligram pills a day. So 8 milligrams a day total. And I was maybe 2/3 of the way, level-wise, when I would get my blood taken, what I wanted to be at.
Okay.
Because of how it works, when you take the oral, a lot of it will get filtered out by your liver and other...
Your liver doing what it's supposed to do and all that stuff.
Right. So you just don't get as much of a dose. With the injection, like, it's right in your bloodstream. Like, it's right there. You basically get it all. And it... when you start out on kind of a low dose again to kind of get that baseline.
Just like any meds, yeah.
Right. And, then, so you go from being used to what you were at before to something that's lower. So now it's different, but it's not. Because, and I would actually even equate the injection to be almost a little bit worse, simply because how much you spike. Because you do an injection once a day.
Yeah.
So, so I do my injections Wednesday evening, and I'll spike up to, right now, I think it's somewhere in the probably 3 times what a normal woman's highest level is.
Oh.
Right. Right. So imagine you at your worst. I'm
3 times that.
Like 2 to 3 times that.
Oh my gosh.
And then, that tapers off during the week. And then when you get back to like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, well, now you're almost like down to,
oh my gosh.
You're pretty low. So like you're almost kind of feeling like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it's a once a week thing then? Okay. And do you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Nice. And people hate doing that kind of stuff anyway, like regardless of how it's going to make you feel. Like,
God, the first time I did it, I almost passed out.
Really?
They had me sitting in a chair, and you inject yourself and everything. And I mean, I ended up like putting my head between my legs, and then ended up just getting on the floor. I literally almost passed out.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I mean, my husband almost passed out when I got an IV and at the hospital. So like.
Yep.
So props to you for doing that regardless. You started your medical journey 2 years ago. How long before that were you having these thoughts of like, I don't feel like this is what I'm supposed to be like looking and feeling like?
It's different for everyone, obviously. And some people recognize it very early in life. It's more interesting because, as I look back, there were definitely signs, not incredibly apparent.
Yeah, but like in retrospect.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the time, you didn't think too much of it, whatever. But now looking back, it's like, oh yeah, if I had really thought about it back then. But like, again, growing up, I was born in 1980. I'm 44, so obviously that makes it easy to figure out the year.
True.
And let's be honest, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, like, transgender, even gay and bi and all those, like, even all that stuff was still really kind of taboo. So growing up at that time, like, it's not something that really was relevant to most people, and it wasn't in your face. And I don't mean that in the the negative way, but just the fact that like it's not it wasn't culturally acceptable. Really, it wasn't even very much talked about or discussed at all.
And you couldn't log on to the internet and see people that weren't near you having that experience. Because where did you grow up? Like,
I grew up in central Pennsylvania, so okay. Lancaster, yes, with the Amish.
Yep, my husband was born in Lancaster, so
I was, lived there my entire life.
I'm sure, there wasn't a huge queer scene in Lancaster in the 80s.
No, and I mean, and there's very religious things of that nature between the Amish and just the communities in general. I was in, attending church regularly up until college, and that's when you wake up and recognize everything and kind of expand your horizons.
Did you go to college in Pennsylvania? Or?
Yep, I went to Penn State, up at State College.
But Pennsylvania is so huge. Like, it is shocking, like, how it like feels like so many different states all in one. Like, you've got like the Pennsylvania, and then you've got Philly, and it's like, so even just going within Pennsylvania, it can be a cultural shift.
Oh, it really is.
Is college around the time you started like figuring things out, or was it still later than that?
Not really. In all honesty, it was pretty much maybe just a little bit before the pandemic was kind of like hinting at it. One of the first costumes or cosplays that I did that was a little more on the feminine side was a character named Astolfo from Fate Apocrypha. Okay. And he's you know, what they would call a trap character. And that's somewhat, might be considered a slur to some people, and to others it's not. You know, you could maybe call him a femboy to some degree.
Okay.
And then I started watching some other ones, Assassination Classroom with Nagisa. There was a couple of parts through that where Nagisa is very femme, and just kind of kept rolling with it eventually. And, well, then pandemic hits, and
Yeah.
everyone had so much time at home to just work and think and do things. And in some cases it was great, in others it wasn't. And I mean, you know, it really got me thinking a lot at the time. You know, this kind of became pretty prevalent for me to be able to just, and you know, you could spend time looking things up because you really weren't going anywhere. And
you did have the internet at that time, as
yeah.
opposed to the 80s and 90s. So,
right,
yeah.
you know, so, you know, that was a lot of what happened, and it just kind of made me realize, and I was like, okay. And then, you know, obviously, coming out to my wife, that was very rough.
Yeah.
You can imagine, you know, you're married to someone, you think you know them well, and she obviously at first didn't take it well.
It's just a shock to the system. It's like, because how long had you been married to her at that point?
So we got married in December of 2009.
Okay, wow.
So...
Yeah. Did she have any sort of inkling that could have been something, or was it just...
Again, looking back, you kind of, okay, there's kind of, but like at the time, no. Like it wasn't something you thought about because whatever.
Yeah.
You know, at the time I had been dressing up as a Stolfo, and it's still a guy. Like Stolfo is definitely male, even though he doesn't dress it. But, you know, not a big deal, right? And then, you know, you have this and it hits you like a ton of bricks. And, you know, we went, I'm going to say 6 months. And for the most part, that 6 months, we ignored it. And that wasn't just her, it was both of us. We kind of just ignored it. And then it got to a point where, you know, I was like, hey, we need to like, and we started working through it. And, you know, it did take a while. It did take about a year for us to kind of get to that point. And, you know, when I went to start HRT, I mean, that was like, she was right there with me with the doctor. And I mean, and, you know, she broke down crying in the doctor's office, you know, because it was just emotional for her.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, I'm just consoling her as best I can. In the long run, though, she's come to realize, and both of us really have, is that in the long run, we have a much better relationship between each other. Definitely are enjoying each other's company a lot more than we did before. And, you know, while it's maybe not the way that she expected things or way she saw life going, I think she's come to appreciate the fact that this transition has really helped both of us from a communication and relationship standpoint as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm assuming you're much happier now that this is happening.
It varies. I mean, you know, again,
It's a lot of complicated emotions, of course, especially when your hormones are going...
right. And then, you know, you just take in the political climate on top of it, which is not something that you can just ignore, you know, and the fact that there's plenty of people out there that, generally speaking, if we're honest, want to see you dead.
Yeah.
You know, and given how the political climate has changed even just in the past 10 years, where people have no problem being in your face about how they feel, even if they fully well know, like, hey, like, this is really not good. You know, it's harder to really think about the fact that, like, you know, is it really safe for you to go out?
Yeah. And it should just be, you know, a happy moment that you, like, get to live as yourself, and then... Yeah.
But I mean, I know, you know, like for the past year, it's been up and down a lot. You know, a lot of it has dealt with just, some of it has been work, some of it has been events, you know, the whole name change thing with me and that not going well and all that, you know. So I finally, I think it was last week, got the next court date to get my name changed.
Legally?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yep. So that'll be in November, and that's, but like at the same time, it really sucks because like all these steps are things that you kind of have to do to really make that full transition, and it gets held up by various things, and it's a lot of just waiting. Like you feel like you literally can't move on with your life, and you're just waiting for something else to happen.
Yeah. But what something is really interesting is your name has always been Erin. It's just a different spelling now, which I think is so cool. Did you ever consider switching it to something else, or did you just want to change?
Of course I did. I wanted it to be a bunch of things, but my wife nixed all the anime names that I was thinking of. And
she let you name one of the cats an anime name, so.
Right, yeah, like that was the compromise.
Yeah, very good. I mean, well, because she really fumbled the bag with New Cat, so
But,
calling her out on that.
Yeah.
You don't get to have a say in your wife's decision on naming a cat an anime name if you're not even going to give the cat a real name.
But,
so.
Yeah, so, I just stuck with Erin, and because I don't hate the name. Like, it doesn't bother me to say it, it doesn't bother me to hear it. And granted, part of it also, and it's terrible to say this, a lot of other transgender people will say, oh, well, you shouldn't say that. But, like, it makes it easier for others because they don't have to remember a new name. It's whether it's Erin or Erin, 2 A's or an E, like, it's really pretty much said the same, and it doesn't matter. And like I said, the name itself doesn't bother me. So why change it? Like, I don't mind if people... Like, and I always talk about dead names and things. It doesn't bother me, so why should I care?
That's an interesting conversation too. Like, where dead name literally is your new name. Like, when you say it, it's so interesting.
And, like, how does somebody make fun of you? Like, they can't, that on the other aspect of it is if somebody really wants to try and get under your skin, like, they can't.
That is
they
cool.
Can't just say your dead name.
Reclaiming that, yeah.
They can't just say your dead name because it's really the same.
Like, ooh, you got me. Like, it's the same name on my birth. Like, oh my gosh. But at work, you mentioned to me when you were emailing me, and you put your name both ways in the bottom email. At work, are you still going as AARON?
Yes. So with work, I've transitioned to dressing feminine now. Okay. And that's just in the past week or two, because I was just I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna start doing this. And luckily with work, they're very diverse and very inclusive.
That is not something I would have thought. Hey.
They are actually very incredibly into that. They have
cool.
work groups for it and everything, and they promote it quite a bit. So at this point, more or less, I'm dressing femme every day, using the women's bathroom, which, what the when did women's bathroom become so nice? Like, oh my gosh.
There's so much clean,
They had like an easy chair and a sofa in the one. I'm like, I know, like, and the men's bathroom right next to it is just like, here's urinals, here's a bunch of, stalls, the doors don't work, but like, use them. I'm like, and over here, like, God, you got a lounge connected to the bathroom. Like,
it's a girl club. Like, welcome to the girl club.
And then on top of that, like, they have all the feminine products just sitting out for everyone to use as needed. I'm like,
why do you think we all go to the bathroom together? Like,
right.
That's where we have our girl talk.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, no wonder they're in here so much.
Yeah. Especially wedding venues. Like, those are always like, again, there's like a whole separate lounge and like all this stuff. And I was like, I've always like wanted to like see what a men's room looks like, because like on the inside for real life, because like I've heard so many horror stories about it's just like a mess.
I mean, and at work, it's not like the bathrooms aren't clean.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure, yeah.
But it's just like there's no perk.
Yeah,
it's literally just, here's your urinals. Hopefully they're all working today. Here's your stalls, and here's the place to wash your hands if you're going to bother doing it.
Well, I will say welcome, best of luck, thoughts and prayers when you go to concerts and stuff, because our lines are infinitely longer because they're not designed for us, because we gotta go in, sit down, pull everything down, whatever. Like, dudes can just be like, all right, here we go, and like not even wash their hands. So
they're just pee right off the balcony,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, no, so enjoy 87. So when you go to concerts, make sure you're like going right before the like.
Oh no, that's fun because then I'll just go into the men's room and stand at the urinal. Oh, that is the.
There you go. Best of both worlds.
That is the greatest thing because the looks you get from people,
This is the bathroom you want me to be in. Like, I don't understand.
Right,
like,
yeah, come on, guys.
Right, yeah, this is the one you said that I have
You
to
don't
go
feel
to.
weirded out by this?
Yeah. And that's the funny part. Like, especially when people who have, like, a look that looks very much like the gender they have transitioned to, and they're like, and then you go into the bathroom you were assigned at birth, and they're like, you're not supposed to be in here. Like, you're the one saying that I'm supposed to be in here. Like,
I don't want to embarrass you and whip it out and, make you feel inferior.
Yeah. Especially, I'm just imagining you in your, like, very effeminate cosplay doing that. Like, that's just top notch. I love it. So the experience, like, being more feminine at work has been a positive one.
Obviously everyone I work with is very, has been okay with it. I told them, would have been last year in like maybe March or April. I haven't really had any problems.
Nice.
Everyone that I work with is great. For the most part, at this point now, like I'm pretty much the only female in the room I work in.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, engineers.
Engineering.
We're all.
I'm hating on engineers. My husband's an engineer.
They're jerks.
Yeah, I know, losers. No. Okay, hold up. So he goes to work and then does, roads and then he comes home to this computer and he plays Make a Road Simulator. And I'm like, that's like if I came home and I was like, I'm going to play Photography Simulator. Like, buddy. Like, anyway, sorry. Just hating on my husband. I love him. But I'm like, oh my God. Like, and he's just sitting there like, I think the one that he's doing right now is like Train Depot or whatever.
Train Simulator?
Like, yeah. I'm like, God. Anyway, sorry. Engineers are losers. Certified on camera, I'm saying it. Working mostly with men. Bringing women's empowerment to engineering spaces. Love it.
Oh, it's great. And I mean, since everyone knows me relatively well, I've been working at Lockheed for over 6 years now. So, everyone I work with has been working with me for a good anywhere from 6 years to 3 or so, and they all have a very good working relationship. We all respect each other highly, so it's really hard to kind of be upset with anyone, and no one is very mean or anything. We're all thinking about each other. We're all trying to help each other out. So it's I don't experience like any of those horror stories at all. That's
great. That you actually have a safe space in work. Wait, so if there aren't many women, like you probably have like a free bathroom all to yourself now.
No.
Like, no? Okay. There are more in other departments that are.
So when you consider the building that I work in is, I think the one main hall that's right outside the door where I go in to the room I work in is about quarter mile long.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So it's not.
So there are a couple people in there.
There's a lot of bathrooms and a lot of people. So it's a large campus. And they're expanding it and putting more in. So
okay, nice. So on the continuum of it's me versus my body versus my body is a part of me, how do you perceive your relationship currently?
It's difficult at times. Obviously there are a lot of things that are new and different and that you're finding out, and there are things obviously that you're not happy about, and then there are just things where like you kind of just go with it because it is what it is.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Like,
right. Yeah. So it's kind of just finding that happy medium where you can be and in your space, in your life. I'm hoping some of that'll change in a couple years. But again, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Are you considering at some point doing any sort of, because I know you've got, when I was talking to you about lingerie and stuff, and you told me you had your own boobs, which is very exciting, and I'm very happy for you. That is delightful. Are there any other surgical things like you're considering doing? Or
I mean, so, and that's in time.
Yes.
You know, a lot of that also deals with my wife. I'm not just deciding to do this. Part of it is discussing it with her and making sure that she's okay with it. You know, and helping her to understand how having that done makes, you know, me feel about things as well. You know, to be perfectly honest, you know, you generally speaking don't see someone in a dress who has a bulge in their midsection.
Typically, no.
You know, in certain places. That's generally something where people look at you weird or strange or other things. And, you know, so that's obviously something where that's kind of important to me. A great situation is we're going on a cruise next year. And obviously, like, it limits, let's say, what bathing suits I'm going to wear, because generally speaking, people don't want to see that kind of thing. And generally, I just don't want to deal with any of the attention that it would draw.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, is like, really, you know, as a woman, you don't want to be, you want people to be drawn to you because of your feminine features, not your things that aren't feminine.
So, what was the first moment you felt like an external force was playing a role in how you felt about your own body?
I would say it was probably after maybe a year or so on HRT is when it really kind of starts hitting you a bit more. You know, at that point I had already started, well, I was part of the like 1% that like within 1 month of starting HRT you're already starting to develop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like within 1 month I was having buds, and I was a lot more sensitive than I expected.
Wow, interesting. How long does that normally take?
Anywhere from usually 3 months to 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like literally
so you're speed running this
within the first month is really just unheard of generally. But like, you know, that first year more or less, like it was easy to just kind of ignore everything. Like I was still very much boy moding and just being myself. And, you know, after about the first year, it kind of got to the point where it's like, you can't really do much to hide things. And that was where it was starting to like become very difficult to ignore a lot of other parts of the body.
That's really interesting that, because you were the first person not assigned female at birth to do this. And whenever I have this conversation with people, it's always like 6 years old, 8 years old, 13 years old. And the fact that you made it through so much of your life, and until you started to, you know, assign yourself as a woman, that's when you experienced external forces playing a role in your body. Like growing up as, you know, a boy, you didn't really experience that. Like, yeah.
You know, and like, you know, I was generally athletic and everything, you know. And of course, you know, pandemic, everyone gains weight.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I was spilling out of my wedding dress.
I understand. And, you know, so, you know, there's been a lot of that and everything. But at the same time, like, even that didn't bother me too much. You know, and as a guy, it just didn't matter. Yeah. You know, like, you just, it is what it is.
They're not the same expectations.
No. And you get into that just general mindset where, like, it's not even that you, for the most part, really just don't care. Like, it's not like this other person is going to stop loving me because I have how I look.
Yeah.
So, like, what's it matter?
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's not like I was incredibly overweight. I guess I was at one point, but, you know, that's different now. But still, like, you know, it just didn't matter. And now it's become, you know, that, along with some other things, have kind of become more prevalent and something that I care about a little bit more.
So what moment in your life do you think had the biggest impact on your relationship with your body? And probably that anime probably was the cosplay, definitely was. How do you feel like your perception of your own body impacts your relationship with other people?
Generally speaking, it doesn't impact it too much with most people. You know, I can't say that I haven't seen things change over time with a lot of people, and I'm not sure if that's directly related to the transition or if that's directly related to just life or what. But, you know, I can see how that's maybe affected it a little bit, because people are used to seeing you one way and now they're seeing you a completely different one. And, you know, I think the biggest one maybe is more so with my wife.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's got to, I wouldn't consider my wife bisexual by any means, or a lesbian even, but, you know, she's kind of had to start accepting the way I look and the way I dress and present myself compared to what I used to. So.
Yeah, and you did mention that at this point, it is improving your relationship. For a while, it was perhaps not. But yeah.
Initially, it definitely was not, just because, you know, it's the shock and working through everything mentally to convince yourself that this is okay. And, you know, once you get through that and, you know, you start just, I don't want to say letting go, but just trying to experience what's happening and seeing the positives that have come out of it and how much happier you are with this person compared to 10 years ago where, you know, and me and my wife both say it, we very much felt like we were like almost roommates at times. So, like, is that really a relationship?
Yeah. No, I've heard that from some people, and it's not. Yeah, no. I mean, sometimes it works for some people, but yeah, that's not what most people are typically thinking when they, you know, say their wedding vows and everything. Like, I promise to split the rent bill with you. Right. And sometimes it works for some people, but what is your clothing shopping experience like? Do you do more in person or online?
Definitely more in person.
Oh, really? Okay.
I haven't done a whole lot, just because, you know, I've only really started doing it maybe 6 months ago, heavily enough to actually have a lot of stuff to wear now. You know, it's definitely changed. I definitely notice a difference between my wife and I. You know, like, my wife would not wear a dress like this.
Oh, really?
Not short, and obviously this is short, probably a little shorter than it should be, but, you know, but...
I mean, you're tall, so, like, I am also tall, so, like, I mean, you see, these are supposed to be full-length pants, like, so I know the struggle.
It's terrible, right?
Yeah, it's rough.
And, you know, it's hard to find, like, longer sizes and everything, because I go through that, too. But, yeah.
Unless you're wearing a maxi dress, and then it's like, yeah. But that's not that. Yeah, no, I struggle with that too. Because, I mean, because I've been on, like, every end of the weight spectrum. Like, when I was, like, a teeny tiny little thing, like 6 feet and, like, 115 pounds, like, I couldn't find pants. Like, and then I was, like, all the way up to, like, 265. And then I still couldn't find pants. It's like, I still, now I'm back down and I still can't find pants. Like, they just don't make us for us tall girlies.
Yep.
It's rough stuff. So what makes you feel happiest in your body?
Anymore, I would probably say just spending time with my wife, really.
Oh, I like that.
You know, as I said, a lot of things have changed, and you know, even just recently, things like love language. You know, going through things like that, and you know, my wife and I were very aware of what each other's love languages were prior to my transition, and even just the other week or so, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back and check, and like, it's vastly different.
Interesting. That's really cool.
A lot of, like I said, a lot of things really change, and a lot of it tends to be unexpected.
Yeah.
It's really just the best way to say it.
Yeah.
The chemicals in your head just kind of change what you desire, what you want, how things make you feel. So it's just something kind of to pay attention to.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I have not heard that before. But I definitely, I mean, I get that. Like, I did the Depo shot at one point, and my hormones have not been the same. And I went from, like, you know, I feel like a pretty typical libido to, like, nothing. Like, I was like, I literally thought that I was asexual. Like, that was how. So I definitely can see how going through, especially with the giant waves you're experiencing, like, those hormones be crazy. I don't like the ones I have. I can't imagine having to add more in there and just, oh my gosh.
You know, and think about your daily life and how, like, just going through a day at work and somebody says the wrong thing to you and you're off in a corner crying.
Yep. Welcome to the female experience.
Oh, yeah. I totally understand.
Baby. What has helped heal parts of yourself that has been impacted by insecurities? Or do you feel like you're at a point where you've developed more because you're very early on in your experience in this transition?
It's interesting. You know, you have a large shift in how you view everything. You become more self-aware to a degree. As a guy, you know, the female experience is tremendously different. As a guy, let's just say walking home from a bar at night, you don't think anything of it. Don't care at all.
Yep.
Just walk home and that's what it is. Whereas as a female, you're like, okay, do I have someone to walk home with me? Do I have, you know, am I gonna be looking over my shoulder the whole time? Am I keeping my keys in my hand in case I need to use them for whatever reason? Like, it's a completely different experience. And you're kind of just become more self-aware of everything around you to some degree. And that's probably been one of the biggest changes, so to speak.
And then you also have to add in, you know, the fun little sprinkle of transphobia in there too. And that's another added thing. And that's another reason why girls go to the bathroom together, because of it's fun girl time, but also danger.
And that's still a constant fear with me because
and again, sprinkling the transphobia in there, like
even at work, because, you know, generally speaking, I tend to look a little more feminine at this point. My facial features, I showed some of my coworkers, we were out one night, and I showed them I still have my license from 10 years ago. I actually have to renew my license tomorrow.
Because of your birthday.
And, you know, they looked at the picture, and then they looked at me, and they're like, holy crap, like, that's not the same person.
Does it really impact your facial features? Like I did not know that either.
Because everything, and you know, it really does impact everything. Think about just about anything that you experience as a female. To some degree, in some way, I may experience it as well. Obviously, the more physical type things where if you don't have the correct plumbing for it,
it's not gonna have,
you can't really experience that. But like cramps.
Could you imagine if that came, like, if like when you took on stuff, like you could have your period out of your penis? Like that would be like the worst thing ever. That would be horrible. That's my new nightmare. Anyway. Well, I'm glad you don't have to do that.
Just passing kidney stones all the time.
Hard pass.
But, you know, more or less, you know, some women tend to be very wet.
Oh, I love that for you.
Like, except for the fact that everything's external. Whereas for you, generally speaking, it's not.
Interesting. All these fun things I'm learning. So fun. So fun for you to have that little experience. It isn't crazy, like how all this stuff, like that's like literally in this tiny little tube that you like, isn't it crazy how much it can impact? That's wild.
Well, and I mean, you know, when you start really reading into this and looking into it a lot more, for the most part, you know, your genitalia, it's formed the same way.
Yeah, it's just
if you have that feminine hormone or that feminine chromosome, then you end up growing that instead. Whereas as a guy, it comes from the same material, it comes from the same place. So realistically, if you feed it the hormones, it's going to, for the most part, act the same way as the other.
That's so interesting. Oh my gosh.
Even things like cramps. Like, okay, I don't get cramps the exact same way, but I can get cramps.
Thoughts and prayers. I don't wish that on anybody.
Just make sure I don't skip my progesterone every night.
Oh.
That's where, like, by the next morning,
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I don't. I think everything got up with that stupid Depo shot, and, like, I don't get periods anymore unless my gynecologist wants me to, like, and I have to take progesterone and stuff to make it happen. I would prefer not to do that, so Godspeed to you for electing to do that, because
as long as I don't forget to take the progesterone, I'm okay.
All right, yeah. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with all the crappy parts too. But I have heard this from some people that they like because it makes them feel more feminine as well. So like, do you?
It's very
experience
validating.
Yeah,
You know, and that's the biggest thing for people like me that are transgender is having those times where you do get that validation, you do get that euphoria from it. You know, like I said, I think you saw the one post when I went to Canada where I was in the bathroom and a guy questioned whether it was the men's bathroom or not. Because I was in the men's bathroom washing my hands. He opens the door, walks in and sees me and walks back out. And, you know, and then
you're like, yes.
He comes back in like maybe 5 seconds later, and I'm sure he was checking the women's room. Is that the women's restroom or is this the men's? Like, and, you know, and I just used the men's because that's generally at the time what I was doing. I wasn't dressed very manly. I was very much feminine. But, you know, it's oddly validating.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that.
And it gives you hilarious stories to tell later.
Oh, exactly. Love that. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I love that. No, it is so interesting to hear that because, like, you hear all of us, most of us girlies who have periods complaining because they're awful, but then just being like, I kind of like being a part of that and having that. Like, that's interesting. You have a better perspective than me because I would be mad.
Well, I try not to make it happen, so.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Fair enough. Anyway, so have you done a boudoir session before?
Nope.
This is like new. So we're going to go take some fun cosplay pictures and then we'll do some more boudoir type photos. And Winston is fully asleep. So let's make Hello. You have to make one little appearance on camera if I'm going to come and get you a full bed. And you got schmutz on your face. You're a mess. Go back to sleep. You're a mess.
Yep. Just lays right back down.
Yeah. So, before we look at the photos, how did the session make you feel? Since this is your first time doing this kind of thing. You've done cosplay photos, but not boudoir type photos.
It was a lot of fun. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, it was different. You know, it wasn't too much different from a lot of the photo shoots I've done before. But I had fun.
Yeah, good. What would you say is the most prominent emotion you felt during the experience?
I don't know, maybe, sexy, let's just say.
Yes! I love that that's an emotion. That's an emotion now. What was your favorite part of the session?
Just posing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because normally you're the one on the other end of the camera telling people how to pose. So.
Right, yeah. And, you know, it's not something that I would say I'm real adept at. You know, I have a decent idea, obviously, because how do you pose other people and not pose yourself? But
no, but it's definitely different. I've had to do a lot of like, you know, self-portrait type things, and like explaining it is very different than doing it. It's just super weird, the transition. But are you ready to see your photos?
Of course.
Yay! All right, so you're gonna go through. And you can start here, and it looks like you had seen Pixie Set before, so you know how it works. So you can just scroll through however you want to.
I like that the glitter shows up.
It does. That off-camera lighting doing the thing.
Oh, that is the
Yeah, that is the picture.
I'm like, I feel like
Where's the rest of it? You said your boobs and your butt were your favorite, so you gotta do some, you know, some close-ups.
I do kind of like that.
Remember when we remembered to put the veil?
Yeah. Nope.
See, it's the stupid nails. Like, you just can't. I don't know how people function with them.
I mean, it's usually not too bad. Like, I haven't had too many problems, except with very specific things, like contacts. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
or like the typing. Like, ugh. Because, like, I have, like, yeah, like a keyboard where, like,
the mechanical
it's not,
keyboards, yeah.
So, like, there's the rows, and, like, you can't.
Yep.
But like this, you'd be fine. Yeah, I kind of like that.
Because the shape of it was just like perfect, and I can edit out the, you know,
Yeah, the
broken,
little line.
the little broken part.
Yeah,
That'll
you
be
just
easy.
kind of like, you know.
Just paste it in.
Yeah, do the AI thing and it'll fix it.
I do like the AI like detection stuff, like, oh, pick the person out, but I've never done like the generative AI.
I've done a little bit, mainly because like if I'll take somebody and like literally cut them out and stick them into another background, I'll sometimes go and I'll find like a background that I like somewhere and then put them in and then do some of the generative around it just to fix it. But like, you're right, like I generally find like the AI just does not work well.
No, and it just, yeah, and I'm just so nervous about like my clients' photos being taken into Adobe stuff to like, I don't even want to, There are some things that I think it's appropriate, like AI detect where the person is so you can have a perfect like mask on it. Like that makes sense. But you're not like taking from other people's, work and stuff. But yeah, and I've also seen like, the reels where people are like, put hair on my head, and it's like literally the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
With all the glitter showing up.
Gotta have the glitter.
Oh,
I love
man,
how
those
it's like
contacts. And...
Yeah, they're intense. Just like the glitter matching like your freckles. Like it's like you have freckles, but they're glitter.
I mean, like, and the thing, I have another set of green contacts, but they're more like, they're not as intense. And I feel like because they're not as intense, you don't notice it.
Yeah, it just looks like you have green eyes, but yeah, you notice these.
Right, which is why I like them so much.
And especially contrasting with the pink eyeshadow. It's just like two very, very bright things.
Well, and I thought about like, okay, what should I use? Should I use, and I was just like, nah, the pink is just right.
Yeah.
It's like, because at the con last week, I think I used another even lighter pink, and it was okay.
Yeah.
But
if you're going to be over the top, like, go for it. Like, there's no, like, you don't need to be subtle when you're putting on 87 different things to be a bride from a video game. Like,
no.
Go all in. You can't half that.
Could never see myself doing this, 5 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And that's another thing that's changed, like, not just your body, but, like, I feel like your confidence, too, because you were very confident doing it. You seemed like you were on the outside. You were good at faking it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I really am. Guys at work are like, no, you really know what you're doing. I'm like, guys, I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants every day and make it up as I go. No, that couldn't be it. I'm like, you guys are too easy to fool. Well, like, the funny part is the costume didn't come with the hooks to do the...
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I put those on because I was like...
You're just going to fall out of it.
You can tie this as tight as you want. It's going to fall down.
Yeah, no. When I was in a show, we did Guys and Dolls, and there's the Hot Box Girls. It's like, fancy 1940s strip club, so, like, they're not stripping that much. But they had, like, exactly that type of... They were all falling out of it. I'm like, you cannot do the kicks and without a titty falling out. Like, it's just not going to work. So
and there is no amount of tape that's going to hold it to you. Yeah, we had a few people like that at the con last week.
Oh, no. And those are the ones not wearing the pants.
No, and they didn't have pay. I'm like, oh, gosh. Like, how can you not? Like, I've only been a girl, like, maybe a year. And, like, I have, like, 5 different sets at home already. Come on.
That's so, the philosophical thing, like, when you replace the boards on a ship, when does it not become the ship? I wonder how far in your transition you have to be before it's not okay for your nipples to show. Because as a man, you can have your nipples out. But as a woman, you can't. So when do your nipples become lady nipples?
Right away.
Right away? Immediately no go? Interesting.
It was, like, when I finally came out to, like, all my friends, especially ones that I go to cons with, like, that was the point where I was always changing in the bathroom. Like, even if it's just shirts. Yep.
Well, that philosophical question is answered.
That I could not have seen that even a year ago.
Yeah.
I could see that being somebody's material.
Centerfold time.
That was the other thing. Like before, I couldn't cross my legs.
Oh yeah.
Like I couldn't, and now like it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like
because of the bendiness. No.
Like, what is it? I used to not like just even like crossing your legs and sitting like that. But like now I'm to the point I can
do the
right.
Yeah.
Like my legs can twist around each other.
Yeah.
Before couldn't do that.
That's crazy. I call that the anxiety cross because that's what my legs do when I'm really nervous.
Yeah, I do it at work every now and then. Mainly to try and keep myself from getting too bored.
Fair enough. You look very surprised.
Because I wasn't expecting to look like that.
Now we're into the go-go girl. With the boots. 3 very different looks today.
It really is. Like,
This is the widest spectrum of looks I've had so far.
like I said, eccentric.
Yep. The first time you kicked, you had like that. You were like, "This is incredibly serious," and you kicked. It was more lighthearted on the next one.
It's good to keep the green eyes in. It
It's definitely
pierces through every single photo.
Yeah, these boots are insane. Like they're incredible.
Funny thing is, the lashes are like the cheap Walmart Halloween lashes. I wore a pair last week. These were like the glittery, but the one last week it was like lashes, but then they had like strips of like almost tinsel in them.
Oh, that's fun. See, I love stuff like that. I don't know, with my sensory stuff, like I think it would drive me insane. Like but they look so cool. Like I can't even wear makeup anymore. It just bothers me. But like you're going all in on the makeup, and I love it. Because you have a lot of years to catch up on, on makeuping.
Yeah.
So what was it like looking at the photos?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah? What was it like seeing yourself in those 3 very different looks?
The first one, it wasn't too bad, just because I've done it enough and I had an idea.
Yeah.
The second one was surprising and shocking at the same time.
In a good way, I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, because like it's not something I think about. Like, let's be honest, boudoir is not something that I would think about normally, especially doing for myself.
Yeah.
And especially given my anatomy.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way of putting it. But it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting seeing myself like that.
Yeah. What do you think your wife is going to think?
Don't know.
Yeah. This is a first for everybody.
We'll see what she thinks.
If you could say something to 11-year-old Erin, what would you say?
Either it's okay or it's gonna be okay.
That is the most common thing that people have said so far, because I asked the same questions. If you could tell them that they were trans at that time, would you, or would you let them figure it out?
Well, generally speaking, with a lot of transgender people, the general sentiment is that you never tell anyone that they are. Even if you have the inkling or like whatever. The joke is that the egg hasn't cracked. That's what, they always say. In my case, see, like, and this is one of those things where it's difficult, because if I could tell myself then I wouldn't be where I am now.
That's exactly.
And I won't deny that there may be some days where, like, that might be, like, that crosses my mind, but I would say, generally speaking, no. Because I wouldn't probably be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, that's what I say a lot of things in the past. Like, if I could go back and do it differently and be exactly where I am right now, I would, like, especially when I talk about the college I went to, but that's not how life works. So,
Nope.
Yeah. So, no, that's very interesting. If you could say something to someone who's out there wishing they had the courage to do something similar to what you did today, not in that, like, doing a boudoir shoot, but doing something that furthers their self-love journey, what would you say to them?
Not everyone is always prepared when they decide to start. Sometimes you have to work up the courage to start, or get that first jump off the cliff. And it's not easy, and sometimes it takes a lot of willpower to get that to happen.
The first jump is definitely the scariest. But I'm very proud of you for today. This was really, really exciting, and I loved finally getting to meet you in person, because we've been friends online for a little while.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. So I'm really glad you came today. And now the hard part is picking the photo, the one photo you want for your metal print and digital. So best of luck on that. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Love Looks Like This Project. If you want to support the project, you can do so for free by subscribing, watching more episodes, sharing this episode with your friends, and following us at all the links in the description. If you really want to support us, we have really pretty merch, art prints, and even a donation link with details with upcoming investments we plan to make on this project. And if you really want to support us by telling your story in an episode, make sure you join our self-love group on Facebook, as they always are the first to know about upcoming opportunities and will be the first to know when applications reopen. Please know that you are loved, you are irreplaceable, and beauty is not a price you have to pay to take up space on this earth. See you in the next episode.